Hello everybody, Anthony is here. This is the second part of concepting this vehicle inside Blender. Here I will finalize the design before doing the topology, and I'm also showing right now the start of the topology. I'm doing it right now, so it will be the third part of the video, also done fully in Blender. And here I kick off starting, or carry on doing the disk design. And like I mentioned in the first part of the video, I totally like doing the wheel designs just because it's so easy to create so many different variations. So I'm essentially just dragging the vertex, and since I have two materials assigned to different polygons of the wheel, I I have I have like a double layer of the ability to design it. I have ability to design with the shape and also with the materials, and the way they intersect is really interesting. So I'm getting this low poly origami effect, which uh, no, just want to play around and see if I get any new shapes. And depending on the vertex I pick, it will look completely different. So I'm trying to pick some kind of back vertex. And in the last video, I told that I potentially just have one segment and I instance everything else. So if you press Alt D, you instance, and you rotate by like 45 degrees. If you 360 degrees divided by 8 is 45, if I'm not mistaken. And then you essentially get like a seamless blades, which then you play with, like I'm doing right now. And since overall motif on my vehicle has this triangle, I'm happy to have some kind of triangular shape there. But also don't want to look don't want it to look too repetitive or kind of like something like I've seen before. So for example, when I look at this wheel, I kind of have a feeling that I've seen something before, that whether it's a origami or actual wheel design. And I will be doing this a lot where I just tweak shape around and look at it, rotate it. So I was unhappy with the back, especially like the back fender. And here I'm just trying to figure out what should I do about it and how should I shape it. So before it was really simple line, like really simple angular, more like fender. And I liked it at the moment, but then I was thinking, it's kind of too simple and I've been not that contemporary. I already have some simple shapes happening, like those triangles, so I should probably make the fender more complicated. And this is part of the back kind of outtake, a outtake part of the exhaust. When call it a diffuser, but it's not really proper diffusers. So I will be doing, I will work more on it during the topology stage. I'll try to make slightly more proper diffuser, because her proper diffuser has a like vertical lines to direct the air, like vorticity essentially. And I don't really have them present here. I just have more like a design element. And I was learning a lot about aerodynamics uh, as I was doing this design. So just how the air intakes, and you have different type of intakes. If you have like some kind of regular mass production vehicle that doesn't really go more than 100 kilometers an hour, but if you have, or like 120 kilometers an hour, but if you have something like a performance car which is like 200 kilometers an hour, it's a different story. You know you work you have to make sure that car doesn't fly away in the air, so you have to modify the elements. You have to create different air intakes which will hold will push your car to the ground, and that really influences the design big time. Here I'm still just more like, with this particular concept I'm playing with shapes. I'm not try to make it like 100% realistic. I still think it more like something. How do I make it appealing for if we were to do a game, right? If we were to do a design in a game, so it can doesn't have to be like really properly aerodynamic. But it's something I'm really serious. I'll think a lot about it, and something in the next design I will try to introduce more. And the good thing about it, if you say go on Sketchfab, and now I'm doing the bump and trying to create this um, reinforce essentially the bottom, because otherwise it looks like it can shake off and break off pretty easily. So I'm trying to figure out how many reinforcements I want to put in. So what I was saying, like a good thing now is that you can have um, you can take a look at any modern car and say it's Sketchfab. If you go to Sketchfab and look for like Porsche, or you look for Lamborghini, or look for McLaren, you can find a really high quality models that are available for sale. But you just go there, you rotate the model around, you get the information about how the car is designed. You don't need to buy it. It's already all the information about the design is already there. And now here I'm cutting through the the back of the back fender. So I'm creating a boolean to cut it out. And I'm trying to match the now I'm trying to actually get the design working from the circular shape, and I'm like scaling that arch, and then I'm snapping it, because like snapping in is so easy inside Blender. You just press Control, and it snaps. I'm doing this back intake. So here, this intake could cool the brakes, or if you have an engine behind, you can cool the engine. So I was thinking about this vehicle in terms of also what kind of engine I want to have. So originally I thought about it being electronic vehicle, but then electronic is a bit boring in terms of, if I wanted to animate it and make some sounds, I don't really hear the engine, but then I don't want to really go gasoline engine. So I thought, okay, maybe will be a hydrogen um, H2O, like ecologically eco-friendly type engine, so that still has the big compartment for it. It still has to have the intakes to cool it off, but we keep it green, keep it friendly to the environment. You can see I'm trying now to use a boolean to cut out the bottom, and I'm doing that. I could have just deleted the bottom part of the wheel, but I really need that circle. I really want to keep the circle intact for the time being. So I decided to still have it and then cut it out with a boolean operation. You can see now that circle is not really, it should really be slightly rotated to the side. So it's kind of flush with the wheel. I should really have a little bit of an angle in front of the wheel and in back of the wheel. That I will do later, and some that I will do during the topology phase. So now I have this huge shape for the intake, which I wasn't too happy about. And I was then thinking, how do I deal with that? It creates this really powerful line that from what I see can overtake the overall design, and I didn't really like that. I often took breaks. I'm just not recording, but just looking at the vehicle, and I have it on my second screen as well. I have a particular view from just a 3/4 view, and then really I should have like maybe even four views from multiple sides. So it's really helpful. You can, instead of moving, instead of rotating the camera all the time, you can just take a look at the right and see how it's been uh, reflected on the second screen. So we move on point, on a zoomed out element, but then it will all get reflected in all other viewports on other screen. So I'm playing with the arrays. So I'm thinking again this kind of type of diffuser thing, and how many I want to have. Like, I ended up having probably like four. Let's see here, I'm playing with the placement. And I don't mind that it's cutting through the geometry and all that stuff. Again, it's really just a concept, and getting that stuff right will be more in the topology stage. Like all these lines, for example, all these elements in the back, they're super thin, right? They're just like maybe 10, like 1 centimeter or less, half a centimeter um, thin. Therefore, I'd want to add some thickness later on. So here you can see the way I shape the array. I actually using a boolean. It's really common thing I did many times with other projects, other models, is that I want to have an array, but not looking great. So I will use a boolean on and cut out the array. I'm just trying to kind of fit the gap, fill the gap, and far from perfect, but not too bad. So I'm trying to tweak the boolean, and I'm trying to make a boolean of make it more complicated shape, so it will cut it out more efficiently. It's like a negative space boolean, so it's trying to adopt the shapes to the body of the vehicle. The ones I use, use it for the floor for the wheel arches, but here it's a bit more complicated. At the bottom is just like a cube. Here I start to actually model the boolean out a little bit. And what I like here, that one vertex movement is pretty powerful cut through the whole array, so you can see a lot of stuff happening. So here I made this kind of like a blending arch. And I'm just restarting the booleans because some of them have a whole bunch of boolean groups, and I try to name them, but I start to forget where belongs what. So I should have just called them like booleans 1, booleans 2, boolean 3, because you can see some of the naming, like boolean car 2, boolean wheel, just booleans. So here I'm modifying the intake in the middle. And I really like that kind of black matte element on top. Now I'm trying to fix the arch on the front to kind of match it. Creating new booleans and playing with them. I'm trying to get a bit of an angle in the back. Essentially, the wheel creates a little bit of, say, dirty air there, and that will be directed by the skirt on the side. That inlet, I think there's a particular name for that inlet. I already forgot about it. Forgot the name. So I'm here, I'm using the bevel modifier to add some detailing. Essentially just a bit of tweaking and trying to match this to the surface. So I don't want to combine it. I don't want to combine it because if I combine the front fender with the body, then a lot of booleans will start to play against each other, and that will create a bit of problem. But I could have combined it. It's not like end of the was a too big of a deal. Because now I kind of look at this video and I'm like, yeah, I could have just combined those two parts of the mesh. But at the same time, the main body mesh has already been quite messy and hard to understand. So here we can remove one polygon and suddenly like a whole section is gone. So if I added the front fender to that, it would have been another problem. So I wanted that back intake to have like a completely straight line. And here I want just to have that boolean to cut through the inlet. But the boolean, for some reason, it's actually like cutting like too far. It's really bizarre. The boolean itself, you can see it's actually not touching that part, but it's cutting through like 10 centimeters in. So I had to create a specific boolean just for that winlet. So I just, and again, you can spend hours trying to figure out a particular issue. Why is that boolean not working? Or you can just create a new one and bypass it altogether. I prefer not to get bogged down by bugs because every software has its own collection of bugs, which all of those bugs can be inexplainable and ridiculous. So you just like you want to relax and find a way to do a way around it and not bother too much. Just trying to figure out the shape for this guy to keep it super sharp or less sharp, look round it up or not. I decided to go with just a clean triangle in the end. I can see it's a bit of it was a bit curved, so I don't like that. So I decided to just scale it down to make it flat. And in fact, a lot of the shapes actually went into the topology. I made it much easier to work with, having all that stuff already been set up. Like the wheel arches were the same. A lot of the stuff stayed the same. Just had to clean it up properly and redo parts, and so I'm doing like a bottom array. What I didn't like about it just I didn't like having too many elements. In a way, I started to feel like a bit of like a cheap design because it's really easy to do that. So No, you can then people can spot that. Okay, it's like an easy trick to do like 50 layers. I wanted to keep it a little bit more kind of sculpted, custom made. So here I'm trying to modify that boolean I already had, and just so it cuts out the array at the bottom. Yeah, looking, removing it, looking more. I'm just trying to figure out is are those green lines, are they adding too much noise or not? Or should I keep them just black? I'm trying to compare the front grille and the back grille. I'm trying to kind of match the side array and the bottom array. And here I decided, okay, maybe I should really space it out and make not like 10, but just 3 or 4. And this is what I went with in the end, just having only a few. Again, tweaking the boolean to cut out some under parts that I didn't like. One thing that I made right and I'm happy about it, I didn't try to combine those bottom arrays and side arrays to make it one big piece, so, because it would have been a waste of time. Check it out if maybe there's a kind of spoiler idea here. Oh, actually, not really. This here, I'm doing the lights. I quite enjoy doing the light design in the back. I think that one is quite entertaining to look at. This is really the start of the light design. And I'm doing the shapes that kind of cut through everything. I don't care. I just want to see how they will look. And if anyone enjoy this bit of a chaotic look that where the lines don't exactly align with the previous lines, makes it look a bit fresher. And I put like 6 lights in there in the back. And there is no rule how many you need to put. It can be 6 lights, it can be 2, it can be 20. In a shaded view, it's kind of better to see how they look because then everything's a bit dark with just 1 point lighting. You can see here I'm switching the rim material to be a light, to be just the light. And I was trying to make it thinner. So at first I liked it, but then I thought, it's kind of too noisy, so I removed it. But same idea here, I was trying to make every edge to become a light, and it just becomes too noisy. Another thing I didn't like is almost been a little bit like forced. Didn't have that creative feel to it when they just stick out in different directions. If it just kind of does a nice outline all around, I didn't like that. I didn't have that again, like that aggressive, chaotic look they wanted to introduce. I'm still playing with the arrays because I have an array in the front, and I'm thinking about maybe the array should go in the back as well. Maybe it should be array uh, with less parts. And I didn't really like it just because it's uh, too much symmetry there, too much even repetition, really overpowering everything else. What I can see from the back. Though I think I kept it for a while actually. You can see I'm trying to shape it in a bit more interesting ways. In this case, I'm not using a boolean to shape it. I'm just using a polygon to shape it up. So in this case, the the shape, usually the boolean is for more intricate shapes. But if I can just use a polygon and move the polygon around, the vertices around, then I'll use that. And I'm trying to turn the light off in the other elements and trying to match it from the front grille, which I put the lights there. And no, in the final design, like all of it just didn't happen. And but it's great. Again, it's so the iterations here were so fast to see how it looks. And the big thing of that is a real-time preview. So if I can see how the materials work together, I can iterate much faster. You can see I'm just still trying to make it work. I did like that element that now sticks out. By the way, another thing I always do with the arrays, I always use a constant offset because if you use relative offset and then change the polygon, they will start to go out of whack really quick. I'm thinking about to create a matte volume that will have like a support of those guys at the top. And I definitely removed it later. So just keep on tweaking. And accidentally I can tweak another shape as well, like I did with the front. Kind of like this back was pretty cool shape. And now I decided that maybe I should just remove it. I'm changing the capsule shape. All right, so turn all the lights in the front. And I'm working on the arch in the middle, which I was really unhappy and I really didn't know what to do about it. So I decided to thin it out, trying to figure out how can I influence it. So I started to like it more, being really sharp. So I'm removing some edge loops. You can see I've done a bit more, quite a few edge loops in the middle, maybe too many than I needed to do for this high, like low poly design. Introducing another bevel. So this I started to like a lot more. Just I no longer had this super powerful arch. It was just too big. Trying to clean up the body. Cleaning this up as well. And I consistently try to look through this kind of mess, right? So trying to see some lines, some shapes, like the shading artifacts. Just endless tweaking, trying to get that line right. Trying to figure out, do I really want that super strong line at the top? It's kind of really parallel to the bottom. And in the end, I didn't want that. Right, so now I want to align the back fender Actually, here I'm playing around with the idea that make it a back wider, right? So visually wider. More black. I can make the front lights more massive, bit wider, because the front lights were pretty wide and the back lights were a bit narrow. So that's one of the things I didn't like. And there we go. Got in some angles with a full round design, fully curved. Kind of didn't even have to do much in the topology after that. Just try to reinforce a few lines here and there. You can see here I broke that round line. It was a bit just too much, so I wanted to break it with an angle. And there we go. I got this strong angular lights in the back that go kind of perpendicular to the overall design motion, and I really like that. Again, it introduces more aggressiveness, more danger to the shape. So not like nice and round; it's all a bit pointy. So now I'm playing with multiple lights and trying to angle them out. You can see also scale one down, one side down, so they're a little bit more like triangle shaped, these lights. So I did another element sticking out, but it kind of was too much, so I made it flat later on. Problem that these elements, they start to look, they have the same size, they evenly spaced. A lot of that evenness starts to show through, and that's not great. Kind of think about composition of each element, right? So how it's relevant to another one, and not always everything works just because we're still doing a vehicle that has to exist, has to look like it can exist in real world. So the compromise has to be made to fit in stuff. So they go doing Winlet extension. So this one I really like because we still have the triangle strong shape with the green color, but the black is like making this longer. At the same time, not interfering with the green shape. You can still see that the capsule element is so simple, just like 5 polygons. With the bevel modifier, it's all you need. Oh, positioned like a major big light in the back. You can see now all the array lights are gone. I just have the sticks of light. So I was thinking to introduce more black color when I look from the top near the winglets. I'm trying to add more polygons to the capsule now. Decided to go with a more rounded look in the front and more like a diamond shape in the back. And again, here I don't have a definite answer which one is better. Oh, aerodynamically, of course, yeah, like the more of a teardrop shape we have in the front, the better it is. But it's not really I'm not really doing this decision for aerodynamic purpose. Because if I wanted to make the most aerodynamic shape is the teardrop, it has like some insane aerodynamic coefficient. But if you put teardrop on the wheels, it won't really look nice. And there's one guy who tried it. And if you Google that up, like teardrop vehicle, looking rather ugly. But had the best aerodynamic coefficient for a concert vehicle. And a lot of that aerodynamics is interesting in terms of, like, say, Tesla has a really good aerodynamic coefficient, like it's like 2.6 something on Tesla S. However, the super performance cars, the really fast cars, like Formula One, they have like way worse coefficients. They have, like, I think Formula One has like 0.7, which is like a brick, essentially. But because they drive with such a huge speeds, they actually need to design a vehicle so it's doesn't fly in the air, so they have to introduce all the wheelets and all those kind of cool elements that make the vehicle so interesting visually and so busy, just because they have to keep the vehicle from flying up into the air like an airplane. Okay, so here I'm actually doing a switch to the front lights, playing around with them now. Because I have made so many lights on the back, I was thinking, maybe I should put something in the front. And I started to decorate the vehicle with more lights, right? So now we have these lights on the wheelets. They kind of stick out right now, so they break the triangle shape, which I thought was kind of interesting at the time. But since that shape, that kind of motion that doesn't repeat itself anywhere else, I tucked those backlights inward inside the inlet later on. But here, I thought this surface was great to introduce another LED light. However, it started to look really strong, like overpowering everything else, and that's what I didn't like. So you'll see me trying to get it right on that element, but it's just so strong. I did find the resolution down the line. I think it worked out really nicely, but at the time was I knew I had to put this something there, but I couldn't figure this out. And other than here, I was just like, why not to have some kind of stick out element? I think I saw it in some maybe concept of some big or some kind of real life, something not exactly like that, but as an idea, similar. Maybe even was more like an exhaust that was really sticking out. I don't know. You just rethink the shape or exhaust shape, and I just put it in the back of the vehicle to make it stick. And as usual, jumping back to the wheels and try a new design, new disc design. I think it was actually I was doing it along other tasks, so it was maybe like actually a third day when I was picking this up. So every time I have a kind of fresh look, fresh ideas, how fresh perspective, how to do it. Easy to make it, super messy, super busy, but is it is it good? End of the day, if you just use like round discs, there nothing. It's not a bad idea, really, with hardly any design. You know, sometimes if you make the disc super simple, then there's more attention to the body. Again, it's just so simple, so easy to create a completely new structure. Uh, Often not good. This one was kind of thinking that's how it's so aggressive. This is actually a pretty cool one. That one, all the blades sticking in. Actually, the left field, this is the one I went with. I didn't record how I made it because, again, I was kind of playing it in some kind of downtime, not much thinking. So the left was origami design that I was, okay, let's go with that. But then I was also playing with the right again, and some of those stuff also goes looking interesting. And every day I had like different way of moving the vertex and getting a different look. You can see here for a moment I saw like a round disc, and honestly, that round disc also could be there. You could just rescale it, and that would work. Like if you Google a Bugatti bolide, they have just pretty much round caps. You see here was a little jump, so I played around with the colors, so left wheel became black, which pretty much stayed to the end. And I'm just doing some final tweaking for the back fender. I have this now a super skinny line at the top, which I had a little bit concerns how I would translate that into a sub D model, but I did like the look in the end, so I had to spend some time getting the right transition there, but it was possible. And problem with the capsule at the top, right, the pilot cabin, that you can do a lot of designs that also kind of look good, each one of them. Really tricky to pick one. And it's often the case that you have like five designs which are good. You just have to pick one. It becomes a bit of a time waste when you just play, 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 and you just can't make up your mind. Trying to clean that mess of the body that I have. The thickness modifier adds a little bit extra mess on top as well. I always like to have the thickness to create a bit more, added more like physical gravity to the whole object. Made me feel like I'm dealing with the real material, the real metal. If it's all just like one-dimensional, like skinny polygon shape, uh, like feel less great about it. So now I'm just trying to resnap the back fender to the little black element, black cover. So you see here I have a bit of angle. I had a bit of angled element there. So I was thinking to keep that angle or not, decided just to go with really straight, just 90 degrees angle there. When I had like two angles at one at the top of that back intake and one at the bottom, it just looked almost like a bit of clownish mimicking of itself without replicating anywhere else in the model. So, so that motif would have been just singled out and not really good. So now I'm still trying to add that to add the light to this element because I know that there should be something there, but no, I added there and it just doesn't look good. Also, that element was all messed up, so I spent a fair amount of time just trying to fix it. So we go, we have it. I'll make it longer again. I skew it. It's still too strong. It's a bit hard to explain why I feel it's strong, just because I have the same elements, same size elements in the front, and even in perspective, it looks like the same size element in the back. So that evenness of forms I didn't enjoy aesthetically. That's why I wanted to find a different solution. So no, it was at the top. I made it smaller. Put it at the top. Put it at the bottom. Still don't like it. And also here, just doing some bit of body work. no, isolated element. Also, you can see some of the elements which I do. That light in the middle. I left it there. I was like, okay, just let it sit there. Maybe I'll manage to figure out something. I'll just move on to something else. You really don't want to get obsessed with one little part, which I do that a lot. And but here I was happy that I didn't get too obsessed, though I still spent a fair amount of time trying to find a solution. But you know, didn't get obsessed to the point where I would waste a lot of energy on it, and then I get tired, and I'll have to take a break and do something else. Like entirely, like go have a lunch, something like that, or open 3D code and play with 3D code. So just managing some, trying to modify the shading on the front, and applying the bevel modifier, bevel weight, some of the elements. You can see I made quadruple backlight, those sticking out lights. I like more than they were coupled. I know the thing is, like, I have these little lights, and then I'm okay. I have them in one place. I can actually scatter them around in the vehicle and can place them in different color. Can be, but in front, in the back, on winglets. So have a shape now that I introduced, and then I can introduce it along the way, along the body design. So don't think I have any shape in this vehicle that doesn't get reiterated in other parts of the vehicle. Well, I think about one shape is just the back of the fender. That one maybe didn't get iterated. So now I'm doing this cut, just trying to get a bit of an angle, which is super common. Bit of a slant. I also have a pretty powerful ambient occlusion, and it's good to have it because it hides some details. Uh, It kind of helps you not to get obsessed with stuff that's not visible. You see just a black hole, and when probably you'll render this, it will look like a black hole. So there's no point to go and try to build too much. If it's just a gray shade render, if it's just a like gray shade viewport, and you see everything perfectly well, and then you start to do stuff that will not be visible at all. So here I'm doing a bit of a grid thing, and try to figure out the intake kind of filter. You can say intake grid that will protect against the essentially debris, because they will be going from the wheel just right onto that intake. Usually those grids they have a kind of mesh essentially usually, so I'm slightly overdoing it with a powerful like vent like that. That vent will probably also have some kind of mesh behind. I mean mesh in terms of like something to catch the debris, not like a geometrical mesh. Some stuff, even it's like a gaping hole and it's not visible or anything there, it's good to resolve it in your mind. Like, okay, I technically resolved what's going on there, uh, even if it's hardly shows in the render, but still. uh, Like I didn't resolve too much of front grill at all. I left it for topology or the back grill again. And one of the reasons I didn't do that because I couldn't really see it during the design stage. So it was a positive effect on limiting time spending on spending on the all the tweaking. the Frank has kind of like changed it to a triangle in the topology stage, which I don't really know is better or not. I can actually, if you watched until this moment, you can even tell my opinion if you compare it in the beginning to the triangle in the front, or having more conservative front. Still thinking. See, I started to getting second thoughts about the front and how to modify the capsule. So in this case, this is some kind of intake for cooling. Sometimes that could be actually say outtake. It could flow, could generate downforce if the air is flowing from the bottom through those vents in the middle of the frunk. And I'm kind of gearing up for maybe like a proper tutorial where I could really talk about particular aerodynamics and how they can be designed um, with no concept design in mind, but also making it physically making sense. Because all kind of vents can do different stuff depending on the engine placement, depending on usage case of the vehicle, and depending on the aesthetics as well, of course. One of the aesthetics thing I like I don't do the bypass and the windshield, and I was thinking, so the couple of technologies out there that can actually uh, help against the rain on the screen. Here we'll play around with the lights in the front for quite a bit of time, and then just disregard them almost. So the couple of technologies there, and if you say blow air in front of the windshield, it will stop from the droplets to drop on the windscreen itself. So there is a way to not to have a windshield wiper, so it's not entirely impossible concept. Or there could also be a screen inside the vehicle, which which is bypassing the actual visual look, so you can ignore the droplets and you don't have to have the mechanism for the wiper. And that obviously allows you to have now you have a more freedom with the shapes of the windshield. It can be all curved, like here, fairly curved. But could have also played with the idea of having the wiper that kind of glides up and down. It's like not a typical shape, not like rotates from fixed point, but just glides up and down, glides down on magnets or something like that. That would have been an interesting idea. Look pretty unusual and weird. I'm like really struggling with this thing, with the windshield lights. I'm trying to mirror in a rain. Now I separated in two, so I can play with more. And I still don't really like it. I think what was my concern was just too orderly. Like I have really like straight shapes, no angle whatsoever. But if I start to angle it, it starts to intersect, creates like this kind of big W, which I disliked. There you go. I'm putting some little lights on the bottom, and those ones could be red, which I was super happy about. That I'm introducing more red lights, and same idea here that we have elements that are a black color, so they don't interfere with the main green, so they don't break the shape. They just complement it. One of the things I didn't do on the vehicle, I didn't introduce another complementary color. I could have introduced, I don't know, blue, red, pink, um, stripes here and there. Maybe I can do that in a texturing stage. And one of the things I definitely not doing, I'm not doing any cuts through the body. So I decided that, first of all, most likely the body is kind of singular mesh. Um, you kind of just you open the capsule, you get in. Maybe the capsule is divided, so you open the capsule and kind of jump in. Not not really convenient to get in, to get inside. But I know it's like whatever, it's still possible. Now I'm starting to play with the textiles and logos, all that stuff. Still don't really understand how to change the regular font to black font. I essentially had to look for the font in the first tab, and here I would put. And again, what I was talking about before in the first part, I don't want to use some kind of Audi or BMW or any kind of logo here, or Peugeot or anything like that. I'm not looking for employment in those companies. I want to do my own thing. Maybe it will be part of my game. So the moment you put some kind of logo, just consider that you lost the ownership of that vehicle, right? So you're kind of advertising the other company. So you're using their brand that they spend billions of dollars to promote, and you're using the recognition of the brand on your vehicle. So you cannot do that um, without having a copyright issue. People kind of do it all around. In the end of the day, it's not that strict, uh, and I presume, I think if you go and look for patrols, it'll be something like create an Audi concept vehicle, which honestly, like that will be a copyright infringement. But yeah, not a big deal. We'll see a ton of tutorials about Star Wars. It's also they're using the brand recognition for people's advantage. But again, if you do that seriously, uh, you can't really sell. And then say you have some serious client, or you have somebody seriously interested in like purchasing your work to showcase it. It's impossible, for them to use it just because you put somebody else's logo on the vehicle. So in this case, I'm just having my full ownership of the vehicle. I'm not giving using some other idea to anything. So here you can see I'm playing with the logo type. So I have like 10 motors. So what kind of logo I can do? Just playing with the letter placements. Pretty easy. I get something looking pretty cool, like modern kind of this sporty type of hieroglyph logo. I liked it, and I just kept it as my main logo. Knock is just try to come up with some names uh, for the vehicle, it's actually got an it's knock has a meaning in a particular language, but I'll keep it as a secret for now. So now I enjoy this part because it's really all about kind of branding and graphic design. I didn't 100% like the placement of Teniski motors. I could do it better when I have stuff EV where I could just type it in, say it's really called a substance painting. Um, I could place it better. Right now it's a bit too much to the back, but it just is, I mean, I can use a shrink wrap modifier to shrink wrap the lattice to the surface, but it's just too much hassle. I didn't want to go technical. Just wanted to slap some lattice and type there. And you will see me, like, even after this, I will be changing logo a little bit. I'll be changing the placement of type. So like, I'll put the knock on the grill and I put the logo on the front, on the top. All right, here actually I did record that. I thought I didn't. So here I'm trying to place it. And it's not placing correctly, just again because the surface there has a curvature, and this is just a flat logo. And I want to make it fast. Don't want to bend this logo too much. And one of the secrets for this logo design, I actually even looked through, if you have any type of like lettuce, you can say ATTM. Just Google that logo TM, and it'll give you a whole bunch of variations. So one of them I liked. This was one of them. Not exactly, but there's a lot of ideas that you might have in your head already been done. So it's worth googling just the logos. Changing colors, and that's really about it. So thank you so much for watching, and let's go to the third part of the topology coming soon, and see you there.